Okay, y'all. So before I was Tiff the teacher, or thriving Tiff, or Tiff the podcaster, author, or content creator, I was something that I guarantee you did not see coming. I was actually Tiff the Texas State Trooper. Badge, uniform, gun, the whole thing. And on Thanksgiving Day, I remember the news. Not for a high-speed chase, not for anything dramatic like that. It was just literally changing a tire. Hey y'all, welcome back to Thriving Out Loud with Tiff. I am glad you're here for episode 2. If you're new, go back and listen to episode 1 first because we started this whole thing in Las Vegas and it was a whole entire time. But today, we are going somewhere even more personal. We are going back to the beginning of who I was, actually who I thought I was, and how God showed me how I was actually supposed to become something bigger and better. So let's get into it. I want you to picture a young Texas girl who grew up believing she was going to do something big, something that mattered, something that made people feel safe. And for me, that was the badge. There's something about being a Texas State Trooper that you cannot fully explain to somebody who's never done it before. You put on the uniform, you stand up a little straighter and walk into a room and something just shifts. People look at you differently, you look at yourself differently. And let me tell y'all, I was proud. Like, generally, deeply, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be proud. Now, people think being a state trooper is about writing tickets, safety tickets, speeding tickets, pulling people over for expired, inspection sticker. And yes, that is part of it, but that was never what got me out of the bed in the morning. What got me out of the bed was something called interdiction, which is reading people, watching behaviors, stopping someone and having a conversation, getting down to their level, looking them eye to eye, and just knowing. The ones who had nothing to hide, they were fine. Calm, normal, just a normal traffic stop. But the ones who were nervous, the ones whose eyes were shifting or twitching and whose stories were not adding up, because when you're nervous, you do impulsive things, like you can't help it. Eyes start twitching, your hands start moving. Those were my people, because 9 out of 10 times they had something in their car that they were not supposed to have. And y'all, I was pretty good at it. My highlight of my entire career, the moment I am most proud of as a trooper, was the day I found 300 pounds of marijuana in a vehicle. Yes, 300 pounds. I found it. Me, your girl, Thriving Tiff. I had found drugs, I found money, I stopped people who thought they were going to get away with it, and I made sure they definitely did not. That is what I loved. That is what lit me up every single day. That was the job I was born to do. Whew. And my husband, y'all, he was on a whole nother level. He was the one who taught me everything I knew about interdiction. And he was an absolute force out there. He was a stud. He found cocaine. He's found over $1 million in cash. He also received an award from the DEA. If you don't know what DEA is, it's the Drug Enforcement Administration, because he had hit a load of ammunition. A big one, like a whole gas tank full of ammunition. He took it off the streets. He saved lives, real lives. If you didn't know, southbound traffic is usually down to Mexico for money and ammunition. So the DEA looked at my husband and said, "What you did mattered." That is the man I married, and that is who I learned from the best. So when I tell you I love this job, I need you to understand what I'm talking about. It was not the uniform, it was the work, the real work, the kind that makes a difference when nobody is watching. That was my calling, and I was so proud of every single second of it. Whew, that was a lot of info, but we are not done. So Thanksgiving Day, I'm on duty on SPID in Corpus Christi, which was right in front of a news station. I can't remember if it was Channel 3 or Channel 6, but it was right off the freeway. It was Channel 3 News. I had saw a vehicle stranded, so I go help and I see a guy on the side of the road struggling, trying to change his tire. Now, in trooper training, they give you the tools and they teach you how to do it. I mean, I learned how to change a tire for my dad, so when they taught us in the academy, it was nothing new. My dad had already taught me. Well, when someone needs help on the side of the road, that is our job. That is what you are there for, to protect and serve, baby. So when I pulled up behind him, I got out, asked if he had a jack so I could help lift the car. He didn't, but it's all good because DPS gives us only the good stuff. So I told him, hold on, let me get my stuff. And y'all, I went to go get my jack. I lifted the car, changed the man's tire, all in uniform on Thanksgiving Day. And while I'm doing this, a newsman pulls up right behind with the little microphone, like on this busy highway. I had to stop and tell them, like, hey, you cannot film. This isn't safe. It's a highway. It's dangerous. When I'm done here, meet me in the parking lot of your station. So he was like, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, officer, yes. So I finished the tire. I drove over to the news station, and the reporter looked at me and said, that gentleman's probably so thankful for you today. You don't see too often troopers helping, but yes, they give us the tools we need to help. People are scared, he asked. People are scared of troopers. They think all you do is write tickets. They think of troopers, you're going to get pulled over. But today, you changed the whole perspective of what a trooper really does. And I looked right at the camera and said, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. They give us the tools so that we can help people. And that is exactly what DPS do. We protect and serve. And I meant every single word of it. The interview, if you didn't know, brought back memories to me, back from my basketball captain days when I used to get interviewed all the time after my games because back then I was a baller. But anyways, back to changing the tire. That was not my career highlight, no. Finding the 300 pounds of founding the 300 pounds of marijuana, that was my highlight. But that Thanksgiving interview was a fun moment. A reminder that sometimes the job looks like catching bad guys and sometimes it looks like changing a tire and making somebody's holiday a little less stressful. Both matter. That is what being a DPS trooper is all about. And then God gave me something that changed everything. Her name is Zoe. My daughter, my firstborn, my whole entire heart around outside of my body. Zoe is 13 now. Whew, don't want to get emotional. Let's just take a little breather. Zoe is 13 now, and I can't even say that without getting emotional because where did the time go? She's a standout athlete in track, basketball, volleyball, anything. She's very competitive, and honestly, that's the girl who deserves her own episode because she is something special. But we will get into that later. Back then, she was just a little bitty, baby, tiny little newborn baby. And here's something most people do not know about being a trooper. You work the holidays. This is just the job. Somebody has to be out there on the roads when it's bad weather, when it's holidays. And when you sign up for the badge, you know what you're signing up for. So my husband and I were both troopers. That is actually how we found each other. Two troopers falling in love. Sounds like a beginning of a really good movie, and honestly, it kind of was. But when you are married to another trooper, there's a rule. You cannot work the same shift, so we had to split it. He worked nights and I worked days. Now, Thanksgiving, we made a choice. Our whole family comes over for Thanksgiving. It's a big deal. So we decided together we would work Christmas instead. Zoe was still a little baby. She wouldn't remember. She didn't even know exactly what Christmas was yet. And we figured this year to do it that way when it hurts the least because she's still so little and she doesn't know. So that's what we did. Christmas morning, my husband coming off the night shift, which meant he needs to sleep, and me heading out for the day, and my baby girl, our baby girl Zoe, spending her very first Christmas without either one of us because we had to work. I have to stop right here and praise God for my mom and sister because I don't know what I would have done without them. They showed up, they loved on Zoe, and still do till this very day. And it doesn't help that she was the only grandbaby and the only niece. So I'm grateful for that forever and ever and ever. So Mom, Tracy, love you. It didn't hurt that Zoe was literally the first grandbaby and the first niece in the whole family, so the baby was already spoiled before she could even walk. My mom and sister were not going anywhere but me. I was in uniform, on shift, doing my job, and something about that Christmas, something about knowing my baby was in there opening presents, not really because she was a baby, but experiencing Christmas morning without us, something in me just knew I can't keep doing this. Not because I don't love the job I did with everything I had, but because I loved her more and I knew she needed me home, not just in Christmas, every day. And letting go of the identity, y'all, that was not easy. When something that is deeply a part of you, of who you really are, when you have built your whole sense of self around a role, a title, a calling, and then you have to walk away from it, this is a grief, a real one, and people do not talk about that enough. I miss it. Yes, I do. I still miss it to this day. If I'm being completely honest with you, it was the best job in the whole wide world, and if I could, I would go back. I miss the purpose. I miss the interdiction. I miss the feeling of knowing that I was out there doing something that mattered on a really big scale every single day. And there were moments, especially early on, when I looked in the mirror and thought, okay, so who are you now? If you're not that trooper anymore, if you don't have that badge, then who are you? And I know some of you can relate to that. Losing a piece of yourself you thought was the whole thing. But here is what I know now that I didn't know then. God was not taking something away from me. He was redirecting me. The badge taught me discipline. It taught me how to stay calm even around crazy chaos situations. It taught me how to show up even when I did not feel like it. It taught me how to read the room, how to serve people on their worst days, how to keep going when the job is hard and nobody is watching. And y'all, I use every single one of those things every single day. In the classroom, on the basketball court, on the track, teaching Zoe and her teammates, in my home, on this podcast. The trooper didn't disappear. She just got a new assignment. And the assignment God had for me required me to be home, to be present, to be consistent. There are Christmases and Thanksgivings and the Tuesday afternoons and the random Wednesday nights when someone needs their mama. This is not a lesser calling. This is not giving up. This is not losing. This is a woman who heard the quiet voice of God over the loud voice of her own identity and trusted the redirection. Zoe's first Christmas without her parents' home was the moment I knew my season was changing. And that little girl who spent her first Christmas with Grandma and Auntie Tracy while Mama and Daddy were working, who is now 13, running track, thriving out loud, and I am here right next to her watching every single step, and I would not have traded that for anything in the world. Not the badge, not the interdiction, not the 300 pounds of marijuana, not any of it, because she is my greatest gift, her and my 2 boys, and I thank God every day for them. So if you are out there right now in the middle of a season that does not look like what you had planned, if you are grieving a version of yourself that you had to let go of, I want you to hear this. The redirection is not the end of your story. It is just the beginning of one that God actually wrote for you. The badge was never my purpose. It was never my training ground. And whatever you're walking away from right now, it was yours too. So, that is episode 2 of Thriving Out Loud with Tiff. Thank you so much for being here. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a review. Follow the show. Go click on the link and grab my book, Boots, Brawls, and Blessings on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. It is a true story that happened in Vegas. Go check out episode 1 if you haven't. And I will catch y'all next week. So y'all have a great evening, morning, whatever it is right now. I am Tiff, thriving out loud, chasing 40 and freedom. God bless, and let's go.